we have expressed serious concerns from this podium that Russia is seeking to acquire close-range ballistic missiles from Iran to enable its brutal war in Ukraine. And that Russian negotiations to acquire those close-range ballistic missiles have been active, and they've been advancing.
John, can you say anything more specifically on what possible sanctions would be levied? I'd heard maybe they were mulling flights. I don't know, banning flights. I know you're going to say no, but just if you can.
No.
All right, fine.
No, I'm not. I mean, as you know, we don't preview sanctions, Colleen, but clearly we're looking at a range of options here, and without question, additional sanctions would be on the table of those options.
What stopped Iran from going forward with ballistic missile sales to Russia already? Why the delay? What's happening?
Well, I can't speak for the mullahs. I wouldn't do that, or for the supreme leader. We know they've provided drones, not only drones, the drones themselves, but the ability to manufacture drones organically inside Russia. And this is a burgeoning defense relationship that we've been watching very, very closely. We've talked about it many times here. We haven't seen them move forward other than the negotiation process actively advancing, and we really wanted to set down a marker here for Iran and for Russia that there will be swift consequences for them to do that. What's in their calculus? I couldn't say, but this would be obviously not just really bad for the people of Ukraine, but also bad for people in the Middle East, because Iran's hoping to get something out of this too. It's not just about sales of ballistic missiles to Russia. They're hoping to get Russian military technology for themselves.
John, you guys are issuing this warning to Iran 2 days after renewing a waiver that unlocked $10 billion in frozen funds. Don't you think Iran is paying more attention to the actions of this administration than the words?
Can't speak for the mullahs or what they're paying attention to or not. Jackie, I would remind that this sanctions waiver is renewed or up for renewal every 3 months. It's a quarterly thing. It's a sanctions package that was actually put in place by the previous administration, by President Trump and his team, that allows for Iraq to be able to work its way off of Iranian energy so that they can keep the lights on. And we're continuing to work with our Iraqi partners about how to do that. But right now, they still are dependent for a lot of energy coming from Iran. And so we don't want to penalize the Iraqi people for efforts that they're still trying to get to wean off of that. And I would remind everybody, and we've talked about this before, I think 3 months ago we probably talked about this before. None of this money goes to the mullahs. None of this money goes into Tehran. The sanctions relief that is provided actually goes to vendors that provide humanitarian assistance to the Iranian people. So not only do the Iraqi people not suffer because of this, the Iranian people aren't going to suffer because of this.
Wouldn't it be, though, the Iranian people who would suffer as a result of the teeth in the warning? I mean, you're saying you would suspend flights on Iran Air to Europe if Iran supplies ballistic missiles to Russia.
I didn't say that. Press report said that.
It's not, but it's not like, the Ayatollah flies commercial. I mean, that's the Iranian people would be the ones who'd be harmed by that if that comes to pass.
It's also not like the regime and the IRGC are thinking this is some sort of windfall, like this is somehow going to make a big difference in their support for terrorist networks in the region. I mean, they continue to support Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis. I could go on and on. That hasn't changed since 2018 when these waivers have been passed by this administration and the previous one. Wait, now hold on a second. So you're talking about one of the most heavily sanctioned countries on the planet, and we're still going to look at additional options if we need to. We've been nothing but clear and direct, and quite frankly forceful in pushing back on Iran's activities in the region.
In the last 3 months alone, since the last renewal, you had an Iran-backed proxy kill 3 American soldiers in a drone attack in Jordan, the Houthis in the Red Sea firing anti-ship and ballistic missiles, suicide drones, commercial vessels and Navy ships. You had 3 atomic bombs apparently could be built in Iran with uranium's been enriched to that extent. Blinken today addressing that very issue in Vienna, saying there's still an issue of the IAEA inspectors. I mean, what have they done in the last 3 months to justify another renewal of this waiver?
It's a renewal that we go through every quarter. and it's really about not penalizing the Iraqi people and the fact that they're still heavily dependent on Iranian energy. But in the last 3 months, look what else we've done. We've gone after Houthi capabilities ashore. We've got a coalition of ships in the Red Sea protecting against Houthi attacks on shipping there. We have struck back and forcefully against some of these militia groups in Iraq and Syria. We continue to have sanctions in place, significant sanctions on the Iranian regime for multiple reasons. They're protesters, they're going after protesters, the support for terrorist networks, their nuclear program. I mean, there's a lot of sanctions in place. And oh, by the way, we're still conducting interdiction operations at sea to try to prevent their shipment of material and arms to some of these groups. So the idea that we're just laying back and not doing anything on Iran just flies in the face of the facts.
Admiral, I just go back to Iran. Maybe I didn't hear correctly, but those close-range ballistic missile, does the administration think would be used in Ukraine by Russia? Is there any recent evidence that Iranian weapons have been used in the war in Iran? In Ukraine?
Drones. Heck yeah. Drones by the hundreds. Iranian drones have been used to kill innocent Ukrainians and hit Ukrainian infrastructure, to hit Ukrainian defense industrial base. Absolutely. Yes, Iranian weapons have been used in Ukraine without question. We haven't seen a consummation of this particular deal, which is why the G7 is warning against the consequences of it.